Clear out your desk by the end of the day. The words echoed in my head as I stared at Mr. Harrison, my boss of 5 years, wondering if I'd heard him correctly. There must be some mistake, I managed to say. The client data breach. I had nothing to do with it. He shuffled the papers on his desk, avoiding my eyes. The evidence is quite clear, Sarah. Your login credentials were used to access and leak sensitive information to our biggest competitor. The board has no choice. Because someone stole my password. I protested, my voice rising. I've been telling it for weeks that something was wrong with my account. I'm sorry, he said, not sounding sorry at all. The decision is final. As I walked out of his office in a daze, I caught a glimpse of my sister Diana watching from her corner office, a small smirk playing on her lips. That's when everything clicked into place. The accidental coffee spill on my laptop last month that required a password reset. The strange emails I'd been getting. The way Diana had been quietly undermining my projects while cozying up to the board members. My own sister had orchestrated my downfall. I'd spent 8 years at Maxwell Technologies, working my way up from entry-level analyst to senior director of operations. Diana had joined 3 years ago, fast-tracked through management thanks to her Harvard MBA and our father's connections with the board. From day one, she'd seen me as competition. Every success I had was a threat to her carefully planned rise to the top. But I never thought she'd go this far. As I packed my belongings into a cardboard box, my hands shaking with a mixture of rage and humiliation, Diana sauntered over to my desk. Tough break, sis, she said, examining her perfect manicure. But really, did you think you could compete with me? I mean, your community college degree against my Harvard MBA. It was only a matter of time. I looked up at her, the stranger wearing my sister's face. You did this, I said quietly. You set me up. She laughed, the sound cold and brittle. Prove it. Oh wait, you can't. Because all the evidence points to you having a little side arrangement with quantum systems. Selling client data to the competition. That's career suicide. Why? I asked if I already knew the answer. Because you were in my way, she replied simply. The board is looking for a new COO. And now, with my main competition conveniently eliminated, guess who's the front runner? She leaned in close, her designer perfume making me nauseous. Good luck finding another job in this industry. Nobody hires corporate spies. I watched her strut away, her Louboutin heels clicking on the marble floor. The same floor I'd walked across for 8 years, building relationships, solving problems, earning respect the hard way. Don't worry about references, HR told me as I turned in my badge. We won't mention the incident, but you understand we can't provide a positive recommendation. I drove home in silence, the box of desk plants and family photos sitting accusingly on my passenger seat. 8 years of my life, destroyed in a single day by my own sister's ambition. That night, I sat in my apartment, staring at my laptop screen. Diana had been thorough. She'd already posted about her likely promotion on LinkedIn, subtly hinting at the unfortunate situation that had opened up the opportunity. The comments were flowing in, congratulating her on her meteoric rise. I should have been broken, should have been planning a move to another city, another industry, anywhere I could escape the shame of being branded a corporate spy. Instead, I felt oddly calm. Because Diana had made one crucial mistake. She thought she knew everything about me. The quiet, hard-working sister who'd gone to community college because we couldn't afford better. The one who'd never played office politics or chased promotions. What she didn't know was that I'd spent the last 2 years quietly building something on the side. Something that was about to change everything. I opened my private email account and typed out a message to Viktor Petrov, CEO of our biggest client. Dear Victor, remember that proposal we discussed last month? I'm ready to move forward. And I know exactly how to save your company the $50 million you're losing to outdated systems. Best regards, Sarah Mitchell. His response came within minutes. I was wondering when you'd be ready to leave Maxwell. Let's talk tomorrow. I smiled, thinking of Diana's smug face. She thought she'd ended my career. In reality, she'd just freed me to pursue something much bigger. The next morning, I met Victor at his private office overlooking Central Park. He'd always appreciated my direct approach to solving problems, even when Maxwell's bureaucracy got in the way. So, he said, pouring us both coffee, I heard about what happened. Quite convenient timing, isn't it? I nodded. They think I sold client data to quantum systems. In reality, I've spent 2 years documenting every flaw in Maxwell's outdated infrastructure. Flaws that are costing your company millions. And you can fix them, he asked, though we both knew the answer. I've already designed the solution. I just needed to be free of Maxwell's non-compete clause. I pulled out my tablet, showing him the prototype I'd developed. This system will revolutionize how technology companies handle client data. No more breaches, no more leaks, no more million-dollar losses. Victor studied the specs, his eyes widening. This is brilliant. But you'll need funding, a team. I have a team, I interrupted. Top engineers from Google, Amazon, and yes, even Maxwell. People who believe in the project and have been waiting for me to make my move. He leaned back, a slow smile spreading across his face. How much do you need? 50 million. In exchange for 20% of the company. He didn't even hesitate. Done. But I want something else too. What's that? I want Maxwell Technologies as your first acquisition target. Their stock is about to take a hit when we terminate our contract. Should make them quite affordable in about, 18 months. I felt a slow smile spread across my face. Funny you should suggest that. I've already drawn up the plans. Over the next year, I disappeared completely from the tech world. Diana probably thought I'd gone to work at some small company, licking my wounds. Instead, I was building something revolutionary. We called it Sentinel Systems, a complete reimagining of how companies protect and manage sensitive data. Our beta test showed a 99.9% reduction in security breaches. Major tech publications started whispering about the mysterious startup that was about to change the industry. Deanna, meanwhile, got her promotion. She became COO of Maxwell Technologies just in time to watch their stock price plummet as major clients, led by Victor, began jumping ship. I kept tabs on her through industry news. She gave interviews about Maxwell's transitional period, promising innovations that never materialized. The board grew increasingly impatient as the company's value dropped month after month. Then came the day I'd been planning for all along. Maxwell's stock hit an all-time low. The board was desperate for a lifeline, and Sentinel Systems, now valued at over $300 million, was ready to make its first acquisition. I sat in my sleek downtown office, looking at the latest headline, Tech's hottest startup in talks to acquire Maxwell Technologies. My phone buzzed. A text from Diana. Did you see the news? Some startup is trying to buy us. Don't worry, I'll make sure they keep the family embarrassment far away from any decisions. I smiled, setting my phone down without replying. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., the board would meet to discuss the acquisition offer, and Diana would finally learn who was really behind Sentinel Systems. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's rising so far above your enemies that they can't help but look up and see you coming. I arrived at Maxwell Technologies at precisely 8:45 a.m., 15 minutes before the board meeting was scheduled to begin. The security guard at the front desk did a double take when he saw me. Miss Mitchell? But you're expected at the board meeting, I finished for him, holding up my visitor's badge. Could you please let Mr. Harrison know I'm here? Walking through those marble halls again felt surreal. Employees who'd once been my colleagues stared openly, whispering behind their hands. My designer suit and confident stride were a far cry from the broken woman they'd watched leave in disgrace a year ago. I was early, but the boardroom was already full. Diana stood at the front, laser pointer in hand, likely preparing another of her famous presentations about Maxwell's bold new direction. The room fell silent as I walked in. Diana's laser pointer clattered to the floor. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, her voice higher than usual. Mr. Harrison stood up, looking uncomfortable. "Sarah, there must be some mistake. The meeting with Sentinel Systems CEO isn't until 9 o'clock. I finished checking my watch. I'm a few minutes early. I hope you don't mind." Diana's face went from red to white in a span of seconds. You're not. Sarah Mitchell, CEO and founder of Sentinel Systems, I said, taking my seat at the head of the table. Shall we begin? The next few minutes were chaos. Diana tried to have security remove me. Mr. Harrison had to be convinced that my credentials were real. Board members frantically pulled up news articles about Sentinel Systems on their phones, trying to understand how they'd missed this connection. "This is impossible," Diana finally sputtered. You were fired for corporate espionage. You couldn't possibly. Interesting you should mention that. I interrupted smoothly, opening my briefcase. I have here documented proof that the data breach which led to my termination was actually orchestrated by someone else within Maxwell Technologies. Would you like to see it, Diana? She fell back into her chair, face ashen. But that's not why we're here today, I continued, addressing the board. We're here because Maxwell Technologies is failing. Your stock has dropped 60% in the past year. Major clients are leaving, and your technology is hopelessly outdated. I clicked a button, bringing up Sentinel's acquisition proposal on the screen. We're prepared to offer a generous purchase price, well above current market value. We'll retain most employees, modernize your infrastructure, and restore Maxwell to its former glory. And what happens to current leadership? One board member asked, pointedly not looking at Diana. That will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis, I replied, though I have serious concerns about certain executives who may have engaged in corporate sabotage. Diana stood up so quickly her chair fell backward. You can't do this. I'm COO. I've given everything to this company, including your integrity. I asked quietly, let's talk about what really happened last year, shall we? Over the next hour, I laid out everything, the stolen password, the fabricated evidence, the carefully orchestrated sabotage. I had proof of it all, gathered meticulously over the past year by private investigators and forensic experts. Ms. Mitchell, the board chairman said when I finished, I believe we owe you an apology. Deanna tried one last desperate move. Daddy, she pleaded, turning to our father who sat on the board. You can't let her do this. I'm your daughter. So am I said softly, and you chose to destroy my career rather than compete fairly. Our father looked between us, years of family dynamics playing across his face. Finally, he said, the board will vote to accept Sentinel's offer. Diana ran from the room, mascara streaming down her face. Part of me wanted to follow her, to offer comfort like I had when we were children. But that part of our relationship had died the day she chose ambition over family. The acquisition moved quickly after that. Within a month, Sentinel Systems owned Maxwell Technologies. Our advanced security infrastructure was integrated into their systems, immediately solving the problems that had been driving clients away. Diana resigned before I could fire her, though the evidence of her corporate espionage would have been grounds for immediate termination. Last I heard, she'd moved to Chicago to work for a smaller tech firm. I kept my office in the Sentinel building, only visiting Maxwell's headquarters when necessary. But 6 months after the acquisition, Diana appeared in my lobby. Security called up, my assistant said, Your sister is here. I considered turning her away. Instead, I said, Send her up. She looked different, humbler somehow, without the designer clothes and perfect makeup. She stood awkwardly in my office, staring at the view of the city. Quite a view, she finally said. Better than Maxwell's. What do you want, Diana? She turned to face me, eyes bright with unshed tears. I want to know how you did it. How you built all this while we thought you were finished. I did it by working harder than anyone else. By believing in myself when no one else did. And by never ever sacrificing my integrity for quick success. She nodded slowly. I've been offered a job at a startup in Seattle. Clean slate, fresh start. I wanted you to know. I hope you do better there, I said. I hope you learn that success doesn't have to come at someone else's expense. After she left, I stood looking out at the city, thinking about choices and consequences. Diana had chosen to destroy me to advance her career. I had chosen to rise above destruction to build something meaningful. 1 year later, Sentinel Systems was valued at over $1 billion. Our security infrastructure had become the industry standard. Maxwell Technologies, under our leadership, had regained its position as a market leader. I kept the cardboard box from the day I was fired. It sits in a corner of my office, a reminder that sometimes life's worst moments can lead to its greatest transformations. Diana and I see each other at family gatherings now. Things aren't warm between us, but they're civil. She's doing well at her new job, from what I hear. Perhaps she finally learned that true success comes from building things up, not tearing others down. As for me, I have a new nameplate on my desk. It reads Sarah Mitchell, CEO, Sentinel Systems and Maxwell Technologies. Every time I look at it, I remember that day Diana laughed as I packed up my desk. Good luck finding another job, she'd said. Well, I did better than that. I created my own company, revolutionized an industry, and became her boss in the process. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about becoming so successful that those who doubted you can't help but witness your rise. I've never forgotten the lesson Diana inadvertently taught me. Success built on sabotage will always crumble. But success built on innovation, integrity, and resilience, that's unshakable. Last week, a young employee was fired from one of our competitor companies for whistleblowing about unethical practices. I had HR reach out to her immediately. She starts next month as a project manager. Because sometimes, getting fired isn't the end of your story. Sometimes it's just the beginning of a much better one. And sometimes, the person who tries to destroy your career accidentally sets you on the path to building an empire.